Right, whoosh, we're back. Squeeze the Neck podcast. South London today with a North London buddy, my new mate, Jacques
Dufeal Maurier.
Bosh, my mate. Thanks for doing this, mate. So we got hooked up. Oh, sorry, before we start, Greazy Grappler, right?
Yeah.
That's the tag. We'll tag all the stuff below, but we got in touch recently on Instagram. Tell us who you are, mate. Tell us where you train. Tell us what you do.
Basically, as I said, my name is Jacques Dufeal Maurier, also known as the Greazy Grappler. I train at Grapple Collective, and I'm a full-time athlete in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
My guy. So you train under Max Brickerton as well, right?
Yes.
So you're 28, you told me just now, right? And
Yeah.
you're from Hackney originally? Enfield originally, but...
Well, born in
Born in
Enfield,
Enfield.
spent my entire life in that.
I got you. Nice. So 28, you've been in Jiu-Jitsu 3 years.
Yeah.
25, not late, but like to start a martial art is fairly late. Like, what brought you to that and what was you doing before?
Basically, what made me start Jiu Jitsu, I wanted to start a martial art for a long time for self-defense. Not like you got to learn how to drive, you got to learn how to cook. It's just one of those life skills I thought I needed.
I got
But
you.
what finally made me decide on Jiu Jitsu was, you heard of the Navy SEAL podcast, ex-Navy SEAL podcaster Jocko Willink?
Yep.
He made an argument that you can't run away from someone whilst they got a grip on you.
Okay.
Someone wants to punch you, but they haven't connected you, you can always run away.
I got you.
But once they get hold of you, you can't. And I think what really resonated with me about that was that I come from an area where there's a lot of knife crime. And what they do to stop you getting away, they call it grab and stab.
Okay.
They get hold of you, so you can't run, and then they attack you.
Okay.
So that made me, I think that's what drew me so much to that. Because even in my own style, like, I emphasize escape. I'm often described as being very hard to submit. That's something I take pride in. Because I don't want to be the guy that you can just grab. Even yes, if somebody tries to grab and stab you, there's a high chance you're going to get stabbed. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, there's that feeling of, I need to at least know that I'm not hard to control, that I'm hard to control, that you can't just get hold of me and I'm just going to be like, well, I've got a very high chance of getting away. Even if, just to explain, the word greasy, for those who don't know, because people all the time ask what does it mean, it's basically street slang for tough and savage. I don't use it as a flex, like, look at me. It's like an expression of struggles I've had growing up, what I'm trying to represent, because my goal is actually to inspire people to start grappling for self-defense. That's my eventual goal. That's why I want to compete. Obviously, yeah, I want to win. I want to feel proud of myself. I want to do cool moves, get highlight reels. But the ultimate goal is why I write. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I write a lot of quotes and I followed Ollie specifically with the hope of doing a podcast with him because I want to spread my message. This is what I'm trying to do. I want to convince people that grappling is, because people all the time say, oh man, no, that's not going to work in a real fight. Like, just punch them. What if they grab you with a knife?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be familiar with that, in my opinion.
But yeah, it's true. I mean, like, my background, as we were speaking beforehand, was boxing. And I was of the mindset before I started grappling. And by the way, I've been grappling 10 years, so the penny dropped. But like, yeah, I was of that mindset. Oh, I don't need that shit. I just punch him in the head. Do you know what I mean? But I think there's merit to anything, like even some of these goofy martial arts are a bit stupid. There might be little nuggets of something that works in them. Do you know what I mean? If you cover your other bases, and I think jiu-jitsu, grappling. Let's not say jiu-jitsu. Let's say grappling in general is a good place to start. But our coffees are here, so thank you very much. Hot chocolate over this one.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
And the Black Americano.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Nice.
No worries, guys.
Thank you very much. This podcast just got a lot better.
Has.
Cheers, my mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was an interruption.
Yes, that's all right, but we're on. Oops, sorry, mate. I've spilt your coffee.
No problem.
Never mind. So, we was talking about like the benefits of it and whatnot, but like, if we go back a step, because you started grappling at 25, which is like not late. I mean, people say late, but there's a lot of time between being a kid and being 25, right? So, what are you doing between that time, mate? What's going on in your life?
I actually worked quite a few jobs. I worked briefly in security. I worked for sales. That was probably the job I was least competent at, but I did at least learn something from it. I worked in construction. The one thing I liked about that is that it made me realize, that you can really push through discomfort. Like over a boring day. I
was going to say, I worked on building sites, man. That'll let you know real quick you don't want to do this for long, right?
Exactly.
That's not the life I wanted.
No.
But like, was you doing any kind of sports or any martial arts when you was growing up at all?
No.
Nothing?
This is the first martial. You asked, what I was doing before in terms of martial arts. This is literally the first one. Honestly, it's the first real proper sport I've done. Like, I used to do some calisthenics.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I've actually went deep into physical activity and realized just what the body's capable of, and realized like, damn, like you can actually like, you thought the ceiling was here. Do you watch anime? Like, do you wear Dragon Ball Z?
No, a lot of people I spoke to speak about anime, but no, I'm completely out of the loop.
But it's something like that. One of the main, most iconic animes of all time, Dragon Ball Z. The main character Goku often says stuff like, you know, you can always do more than what you think you could do, and it's true. Like when you learn martial arts, you realize a lot of these things they talk about in anime are so true. Like it's so again. This is a topic that I wanted to bring up later on, but I'm going to bring up now since it's a free-flowing conversation. Like when you've mentioned before about the theory of self-expression and how your personality plays a role.
Yep.
And how you fight. I'm a big believer in that. Like if you watch, for those who watch anime and read manga, you will notice something. I'm speaking to the camera now, since Oli isn't familiar. If you notice, the characters in anime, their fighting style is an expression of who they are, why they fight, what they're trying to achieve. That is real. I've learned that to be real. There's a quote by a Japanese martial artist called Gogen Yamaguchi. He was a karate black belt. He said, this is my favorite martial arts quotes and one of my favorite quotes of all time. I've got it posted on my Instagram as one of my pictures. Understand that the essence of martial arts is not the art itself, but what's hidden deep within yourself.
That's interesting, isn't it?
I see that as like, okay, these techniques, these skills, they're the language. What martial arts are really about is expressing what's within you.
Right. That's interesting.
It's the language, it's the physical, it's a body language. This is a very advanced body language for expressing what is within. That's different for everyone. For some people, they want to, learn how to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Other people want to get fit. Other people want to, they're interested in a certain type of movement. They think it looks cool. Some people just want to prove to themselves that they were always capable and disprove the doubters. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. All reasons are valid. Unless you want to go out there and harm someone, all reasons are valid.
It's interesting you say that, and your French background, right, which maybe we'll come on to later, but something that come up, I heard a martial artist, you know what savate is?
Yeah.
French kickboxing, boxe française, I think you'd say it. There's a famous guy, Gilles Laduigo, I think you pronounce his name. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm aware of savate.
So, yeah. So he's one of these legends of savate, from what I understand, and he had like a famous fight against a Japanese Salvatore, I think you'd call it, and he's in the fight he had broken arms and he came through it and he won and blah blah blah. But he had a famous quote that was, I'll try and get this right, he said, if I kick your leg, it's not your leg that lets me know you're hurting, it's your heart that does. And I think it's kind of along the same lines, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? What you're talking about, like with expression of yourself and whatnot, because you can all get in there, like for example, me and you weigh a similar weight, but how tall are you?
6'2".
You're 6'2", I'm 5'10", so our bodies are different, right? We're going to do things differently, we can't do things exactly the same. And I think if you try and fight the way I would, or vice versa, it's not going to work. And even if it does work, you're limiting yourself, right? It's because you're just doing like the cookie cutter, like 1, 2, 3, where really in reality you might go 1, 7, 2, 3, 4. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like you're all over the shop, and like I think it's important to, like you're saying, I'll let you touch on it more, but like I don't know, as I say, I don't know anything about the anime, but it sounds like you're talking about that kind of letting, how can I put it, sort of letting it happen versus forcing things. Am I somewhere along the right?
Yeah, Bruce Lee speaks about, like, I think, like, because Bruce Lee said, because I believe John Danaher learned the theory of self-expression from Bruce Lee, because I feel like that's something Bruce Lee was big on. I don't think Bruce Lee's the first person to ever come out of it, because this Gogen Yamaguchi guy I mentioned, he's older than Bruce Lee.
Right.
But Bruce Lee was big on that. He said, you should be able to bring it forth at will. And I think, I'm only just piecing it together because of what you said. Like, I think that's what he meant.
Well, I think he said as well, I think he's got quotes, Bruce Lee, of saying sort of, he doesn't hit, it hits. Meaning like it happens. He doesn't control it. Roy Jones, the boxer, he said like, he's a very religious man, like believes in God and whatnot. And he said something along the lines of, he was smart enough at his prime to realise that he wasn't the one doing it. It was like it was happening through him. He was just like an instrument, and God was playing his tunes through him. And I think whatever you believe in, there's something to that, isn't there? When you're in there, we've all been there when we're sparring and things are going well for you. You're in that whatever flow state, you might want to call it, some people, whatever. But there is an element of you're not really thinking, right? It's just happening.
Exactly. And I feel, going back on that, because I actually felt that yesterday when I was training. because I put such an emphasis on escape, I feel that most when I'm escaping, when I'm bam, bam, like it's like, I feel like I'm in the Matrix, I'm just blocking this, I'm moving, I'm finding space. Because I have a principle. I call it the principle of openability. Because okay, take break and wrist control. What's the concept behind break and wrist control? It's applying pressure between the fingers and the thumbs, basically where there's an opening.
Yep.
The way I generalize that to, there is always an opening between yourself and your opponent. They can't close off all this space. And think about it, that principle underlies all escapes. If you use the word, when I say escape, I don't just mean getting out of a pin. I mean clearing a collar tie, just getting them off of you in any way. Is about finding the space, and that's when I'm in my flow state, because I feel like that's what comes from the heart. That's what drives me the most as a grappler.
Yeah.
So I'm like boom, boom, boom. I'm feeling things. Sometimes I'm just like, I once saw in a video a black belt say that sometimes like he would daydream on purpose to see how he fits, to see how effective he can be while daydreaming. I did that yesterday. I went with someone that I was much bigger than them and more experienced, so I knew, not in a disrespectful way, I knew I would be able to do what I want. I decided not to submit them.
Yep.
I wanted to work just my defense. Bam, bam. I was just flowing. I was thinking about things and blocking and finding space, getting my elbows in, getting my knees in, turtling.
Yeah.
And it all just felt natural.
But it's interesting you say that, because when I teach a lot, I say things, and some people immediately go, "Oh, you can't." Let me explain what I'm about to say first. Like I say, there's no defense. There's staying safe and attack. And I got this from a fella, Lubo Kumbarov. Shout out Lubo. I don't know if you're aware of him. Great Bulgarian champion wrestler. One of the most influential grapplers I've ever had the pleasure to train under. And I'm not speaking for him, but this is more like what I took from it, if that makes sense. What he was saying to me, this, my interpretation of it would be. And it's more, like there's no defense. It's just staying safe and attacking. So
Yeah.
if I'm, for example, I was teaching this morning, if I'm in a rear naked choke, for example, the immediate thing is go through this step, that step, whatever that may be. Different people have got different escapes, right? Yeah. But for me, it would be apply pressure to stay safe and attack. Now, what does attack mean? It's a grey area, right? Attack can mean a million things. Attack can mean a whole host of linear attacks, or literally just moving towards someone, or anything in between. So it comes back to what we're saying a little bit in terms of it's more of a philosophy than anything specific. And another way, I always put that on people as well, which is what I got taught from the great Lubo. Shout out Lubo. He's if I go for a takedown, for example, I'm quite wrestling heavy. If I go for a takedown, I'm finishing that takedown, or the bell's going to go. Does that make sense mentally? Now, of course, it's not as clear cut as that, because people defend, you can get in trouble, etc., etc. Obviously, I'm not being ignorant to that, but
I know what you mean.
Mentally, if I shoot on your leg, I finish it. End of story. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if I get it and I take you down instantly like I want to, or whether it takes me the rest of a 5-minute round to keep changing angles, keep going. But mentally, I've made the decision, I'm coming and I'm taking it. I'm not, oh, it didn't work, back to neutral. Ever, ever, ever. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does make perfect sense. It's fun that you say that, because this Saturday will be a month since I competed in Grappling Industries. Unfortunately, I lost all my matches. It happens. I've won some, lost some. It happens. I lost all my matches. But the last one was a very iconic one for me. It's the one I'm always going to remember.
Okay.
It was against someone that I had competed exactly a year ago in the grappling industry. So I was like, and he beat me then, so I was eager to beat him. It was my last match. So that was my last opportunity to take something from the round robin. I didn't win, but I've got it posted on my Instagram. If you want to see the video, it's right there. It's my second most recent one. The guy had me on the defense. He took me down and he had me on the defense. He took my back, I escaped. He got me in a triangle. I fought. Eventually I got out. I tried to, I didn't pass his guard properly, and he managed to invert and get me in a Kimura. I've never been caught with that before, but now that I've seen it, I'm aware of it. By the end of it, the guy, shout out to you, Emmanuel Thomas. This isn't a diss on you. I'm just saying this because, you know, it gave me a lot of insight. I respect you. You beat me twice, I have to. But by the end of it, he went flat out like this, completely exhausted. And Max was like, I've never seen the guy who won a lot more time than the guy who lost.
That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
And that made me think. And he said something afterwards that intrigued me. This has been on my mind. Like this has been like, these are fresh thoughts. He said, you're tiring them out from positions you're not supposed to from. What did he mean by that? Did he mean it's physically impossible, or obviously not? Does he mean like it's against the rules? Obviously not. He meant it's unconventional. You can go back to Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee talks about this, how a lot of the teachings in martial arts get taken as dogma and absolute, when in fact they're like, no one say don't crush your ankles when you go up the back.
Yep.
There's exceptions to that.
100% it is, yeah.
What if, like, I'm being very ambitious. I'm probably saying, oh, who's this white belt talking like this? But honestly, I think, like how when John Danaher asked Dean Lester, why are you using leg locks? He said, why would you know 50% of human body? Why should we just accept this idea that being pinned is supposed to be more time for us?
Yep.
Why can't we find ways to tire them out? Like, honestly, this is something I'm gonna try and push and really like bring something new and innovate with this, if I'm being honest. If you're holding me down, I should make it hell for you.
Yes,
I
I believe so.
Burn you out. I should make it like, damn, dude, fucking hell, man. That Greazy Grappler guy, he's a nightmare to get hold of. Like, and that makes it, again, going back, because I started martial arts to be difficult to hold, it made sense. Because I was new, it's like you have to learn the language before you can write poetry in it.
Right.
I didn't know this stuff. I didn't consider what would it mean to push that to its limit. What would be exhausting to hold. Take Gordon Ryan. This is literally something I was thinking yesterday as a thought experiment. Imagine Gordon Ryan wasn't trying to score on me. He wasn't trying to submit me. He was just trying to stop me from submitting him. What would be the limit of that? It would be me knackered. Me trying, and just stuffing everything, bam, bam, eventually I'm like, wow, he's gonna be like, is that all you got? Think about it. If someone's got you mounted, someone's got your back, someone's got you in triangle, you shouldn't be thinking, no, going back, this is in tune with what you were saying. There's just staying safe and attacking. It's like something Bruce Lee also said. He said, if you're locked in a room with your enemies, don't say to yourself, I read this quote, Don't say to yourself, I am locked in here with them, they are locked, let me say that again. Don't say to yourself, I am locked in here with them. Say to yourself, they are locked in here with me. You're holding me.
Yeah, it's true, and I believe like it's a little bit of a, not quite on topic, but I've got, not all the time, obviously when you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing jiu-jitsu, but certain either students of mine or training partners that I roll with, like private sessions and whatnot, we do situations where we're careful with each other, we're not being stupid, but we got like nothing's off limit. So we're doing jiu-jitsu, we're not punching, we're not kicking, but we are in the sense of, if your eye's there, I might touch your eye. If you know what's there, I might punch. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Tease the idea that you're in danger here. If we're talking like street rules, you know, it's okay going for a guillotine, but if you're in a guillotine, maybe not the best example, but somewhat, if you're going for a guillotine, but I can grab your balls, do you see what I'm saying? There's an element of like playing for that. So when I've done things like that, and it's been more recently, sort of the last few months, I've had a few people that I've been training with that do that. And it makes things interesting, because for all the years of grappling, when you're not doing that, you're used to doing things a certain way, right?
Yeah.
You change one thing, you change everything. So if you start adding that in, I've got to adapt my whole game. And the reason I bring it up now while we're talking about this, because it makes your pinning and holding people down so much sharper. Because if he can grab your face, if he can grab this, he can twist your ear, he can bite you if he's in a certain position. Now again, we're friends, he's not actually going to bite a chunk at me. He'll tease the idea, and it makes you aware. When you start locking people down like that, when you haven't got to worry about that, it becomes a lot easier. Do you know what I'm saying? And you can sort of put the pieces together, for lack of a better term, of I'm worried about X, Y, Z, when in reality I've only got to worry about one thing, because we're doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So when you're aware of more things, I found that's massively tightened up just simple positions that you think you've got tightened up anyway, but maybe it's not as tight as you think it is till you start adding more extreme danger. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Even like, I haven't heard anything like that. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. I hope I can find training partners that are willing to do that stuff. And that brings another thing I'm going to bring up soon. But you know Asher from 10th Planet?
Yep.
One time I was rolling with him.
Sorry, shout out Asher. I trained with him on Saturday mornings. Great guy. Asher,
Yeah,
I'm trying to get him on here one day, maybe, mate.
Hopefully, you got to be on there, bro. I was training with Asher once, and we got close to the wall. And he said, let's keep going. Try out different things. Like, you know, at the end of it, it's a physical skill. Grappling, and this is, like, I'm glad how we're doing it, because ideas keep coming up. Yeah. And I might, one thing I've noticed about me is that sometimes I get so caught up on a tangent, I forget.
Good, that's what we do here. Yeah. Squeeze the neck's all about that, mate.
Perfect, man. Let's squeeze that neck. I'm gonna. That was a.
Talking about Asher going to the wall.
Yeah.
He said,
And-
keep going.
He said, keep going, and that made me think. I had one topic about the thing.
We'll figure it out. But just touching on that while you're there, before you think of it, is like, I'm a believer in that too. You know, when you're in rounds a lot, like people get near a wall, then they go, oh, sorry, reset. And I just like, it's just natural that you go, yeah, cool, and you reset to the wall. But again, like we've all just thought of grabbing the eyes and grabbing the ears, pulling bits and pieces that we've been doing with certain training partners. That's part of it. Like we're at the wall, deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I've got my palm of my head holding you in the corner of the room, deal with it. And
It's real.
It's real, and I think it's just such a benefit because it makes. Excuse is probably the wrong way, but you know, like certain positions, you go like, "Oh, you caught me. You give me a sec."
Like when people accept takedowns.
No,
like,
listen. This is sometimes I think there's got to be an element of like, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I know this hurts. I know you've twisted your foot. I'm not talking about being silly and injuring your partner, but you've twisted a bit funny. Let's work from here. I do a lot of things as well. Again, certain training partners, not all people, but you know, like if you tap them with an arm triangle, for example, they tap. Great. I'll loosen it up. Let's carry on. Now work your way out of it. Think all little concepts like this, that they're simple, but I think when you're in like a place where you can trust each other, I think they're all relevant, man. I think they massively benefit your game.
Yeah, I've never actually thought about that before. Like tapping something. Okay, let's keep going for this position. But actually, I remember what I was trying to say. Grappling. There's something you said earlier. You said not just jiu-jitsu, but grappling.
Yep.
This is something like it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Jiu-jitsu is not grappling. A lot of people say jiu-jitsu. No. Jiu-jitsu is a type of grappling.
Part of grappling, yeah.
Animals grapple.
Yep.
Thugs that grab and stab each other grapple. Police grapple when they arrest people. Grappling is not a martial art or combat sport. It is a physical process. Like our walking, we have swimming. Like, okay, I once wrote a quote, to quote myself. If I say I want to learn how to swim, I don't mean I want to learn how to compete in a sport. I mean I want to learn how to swim.
Okay, that's an interesting concept. I like that.
Swimming is not a sport, it's a physical activity. Yes, there are sports based on swimming, but likewise, grappling is not a sport. It's not. I get it's a pet peeve when I hear people say the sport of grappling. It's not a sport. There are sports based on grappling.
Yep.
There are sports based on running. There are sports based on jumping. Sports based on climbing, based on throwing, lifting. But none of these things are sports. They're things you do with your body that have real physics. Bam, if you try to jump off this wall, that's going to have a physical effect. If you try to grapple against this wall, that's going to have a physical effect. We need to become skilled at grappling. I started grappling to become skilled at grappling. I didn't start grappling to get skilled at this sport. Yes, I do compete in a sport and I do want to succeed in a sport, make no mistake. But fundamentally, I want skills I can grapple with. If someone barges into me and I smash into this glass, I don't want my skills to fall apart.
Yeah. That's interesting because when we said it earlier, and we're not shitting on other martial arts, but because I think there's good elements of all of them and like the discipline of training, etc., etc. But we all know martial arts that are goofy, right?
Yeah.
That like you go there and grab the wrist and turn this way. It ain't going to work in a real chaos of a fight. It's going to work in their competition, but like you said, your back hits the glass and something goes off. And let's be honest, like in a real fight, sometimes shit hits the fan, and you just got to adapt on as it goes. Do you know what I mean? And if you're used to the perfect, I don't know, arm bar where every step along the way goes perfectly, you're up against it a bit, do you know what I mean? You can't. It doesn't always work like that. And when we're saying about pet peeves, the thing that came, I went on a bit of a rant, but what comes to mind, one thing that drives me nuts is, you know, in competition, touch, sit straight down. I go, what about if someone just, untrained guy, just decides to punt you in the head?
Yeah.
Game over.
Again, I'm guard pulling, I'm not shitting on anything.
But a time and a place is my point. Like
Exactly.
when it's relevant. Like if me and you just touch and I know you can't strike me, and I go boom, boom, and I just sit. To me, that's like, that makes the sport kind of goofy.
I agree. When you was talking with Cube, apologies Cube, I actually don't know your name, but when you was talking about it, you said, I'm not the guy that's going to sit down and play with these guys, it bores me. Like, I'm going to say it. I can't stand leg locks, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
They put me to sleep.
Asher's going nuts right now, you know that, right?
Sorry, Asher. Asher reads my Instagram.
That's my leg lock coach. I go out there on Saturdays to do leg locks specifically.
Leg locks, listen, I'm not going to be, if I get leg locked, I'll be like, okay, that's my fault for not thinking. I've been working on my defense of them and considering the possibility I use them as counters, but when I see leg locks on the board, I go.
Do you? I'll tell you what, I'll let you
Stand
carry on, but just to jump in there, the reason I go up there on a Saturday, I'm shout out the guys at 10th Planet Diesel Gym.
Yeah, they're
Brilliant,
tough,
just great people,
guys.
great rounds, and their style is hard work. You know what I mean? Like there's some guys up there that you start playing leg locks with them, and it's like they might as well be doing witchcraft. You know what I mean? They're so high level of it. The reason I go there is not to ever necessarily. I mean, I do want to be a good leg locker. Don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily for the sake of suddenly changing my style and now I'm a leg locker. My style, as I said to you earlier, is quite wrestling heavy.
Same.
So I want to be safe for them leg locks. And if I'm in the situation where I have to go leg locks, I want to be at the level. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus like the mistake I think a lot of people make, and it's not a mistake early on, because early on I think you've got to find yourself. But as you get more experienced, I think you become who you are to a certain extent, and you sort of build a game off of what comes naturally. Does that make sense? So you can become too easily like, right, I'm going to wrestle today for the sake of wrestling. I'm going to leg lock tomorrow for the sake of leg locking. I'm going to do whatever, certain spider guard on the next day, etc., etc. And what you become is like a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I think if you've got a certain style, but you can branch off of it and use bits and pieces, that's where I'm at. But I'll let you go. I'll let you shit on leg locks now. Ash is listening. Shout out, Asha.
Very Asha. I'm not saying I would never use leg locks.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't understand. I'm saying I don't want a game that's based around them. I don't, because again, it's self-expression. I'm the guy, like, to be quite frank here.
Yeah.
I'm a bit unhinged. I like picking up guys and slamming them on the ground. That's
Well,
why
mate, you're in the club.
That's what I like. I like getting behind people and stranding them.
Yeah, I got
and
you.
I like getting out of bad positions. If I had to name 3 things that my style's based around: wrestling,
Yep.
back taking, and escapes.
Okay.
I'm not saying it won't.
Mate, we were separated at birth, I think. When you're preaching to the choir here.
That's how Greazy Grappler gets it cracking. But yeah, I'm not saying I won't add on things. But those are things like wrestling is something I love and enjoy. Not just for self-defense. Obviously, it's very important for self-defense, but I actually like the act of grabbing someone and smashing them on the ground. The escapes make me feel. They make me feel complete. They make me feel like, yes, I know what I'm doing. Like, this is what I started for, to be able to disconnect. Like, when I can get away from a skilled grappler, it's like that I've ticked off that box.
Yep.
It's like, just to know, there's a lot of things like, I would like to say, even though I'm active in martial arts and many things, I would like to say I've achieved every goal I've had in life, but I haven't. There are things, we've all had things we've said we're going to do and ended up doing.
Yep.
But every time I put off a high level escape, I go like, yeah, that original goal I set myself, I've achieved it. I feel deep pride in that.
Yeah, I got you. And it's the small victories as well, I think. Like, for example, like where you said you've been grappling, 3 years?
Yeah.
So in that 3 years, and also going on the next 3 years and the 3 years after that and so on forever, because you're going to be in this forever, right? It's as simple as that. But like, when you start, I think it's easy sometimes for people that get into it. They get in, let's arbitrary number, sort of a year in.
Yeah.
You know, you're starting to get taps on people and you're starting to sort of get a little game together and whatnot. But then people just get frustrated that they're still getting tapped by the higher belts and they're still getting this. But here's the thing that comes up a lot is it's the small victories. So for example, if me and you start rolling and you tap me every time, you tap me 5 times in a 5-minute round, okay, cool. A small victory for me could be next round I get tapped 4 times. Okay, that's a form of victory. Bit vague, but to go a little bit deeper. You catch me in an arm triangle. Okay, you go for it, you take me down, you pass my guard, you go straight to the arm triangle, you get me. Next time, my small victory might be you take me down, you pass my guard, you go for the arm triangle, I move a certain way, whatever that way may be, you have to go to phase 2 and then you submit me. I could sit there and go, fuck, tap me again with the same fucking move. But at the same time, I made you go a step further. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a victory. And I think it's important to keep that in mind as you go along, because if you get into the phase of like, okay, I've just started Jiu Jitsu last week and I'm a white belt, you've been doing this 15 years and you're a black belt, and you tap me every time, I could go, oh, he always taps me, that guy. It's not going to serve me.
Yeah,
Does that make
make
sense?
sense.
You always tap me, but now I make you think about step 2, step 3. That's all. That's a victory, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I might never catch you because you're so far ahead of me, but I'm getting better, and that's what makes. Does it make sense? Am I making sense?
It makes perfect sense. Even something that came off of that is like, okay, yesterday I was thinking to myself, like, I'm in a room where there's a lot of high, because Graph Collective is a high level gym.
Yeah.
A lot of good people here. Sometimes it's easy to, like, as they say, it's easy to forget that you're progressing as well when you're around all these people. Like, sometimes I roll people from different gyms. I'm like, that was pretty easy.
Yep.
But this is what I want. Do I want to be around people I can smash non-stop? Or do I want to be around people that are constantly pressuring me, constantly forcing me to get better?
You got to get a mix though, not to jump in there, but I do think you got to get a mix, because I do think, and I've been lucky enough to work with Danaher, not work with him, sorry, go to a seminar with Danaher and Tonin and all them guys, and listen to the way they talk and their philosophies, and like the seminars years ago. So like the actual things they're teaching you, you remember elements, but you're going to forget the vast majority. But the concepts sort of remain, you know. And one of the things he was sort of coming into it, and especially Gary Tonin more, he was saying certain elements of, like, when he's in it was the blue basement at the time, like when they're training, like, he gets tapped more than anyone because he'll dangle his leg in a certain position. He doesn't care. He's here for training, was what I took from it. Do you know what I'm saying? He's not like trying to win every round. He's trying to, like, okay, you've got my leg, you've got my neck, you've got my whatever, but now I'm going to go to work and get out of it, and you'll tap me every now and then, and you might tap me a lot. Not important. I'm here to get better. Do you know what I mean? I think there's an element of that comes in. And the thing with John Danaher, he was talking about, and again, if I'm butchering it, what I took from it anyway was, and I think he said it on podcasts anyway, is like a lot of your training should be done with people you're a higher level than, so you get reps of live rounds. So for example, if you're higher belt than someone, you're a lot more experienced, you know you should tap them. Sometimes it's good to roll with them a lot and work on something to get there, so you're getting the reps of winning as well. And I think I believe in that. I really think that's important.
It does make sense. It's like balance, isn't it? Like,
because, sorry, not to cut you off, but like if me and you roll all the time, and one of us is a lot higher level, and all we do is go to the death every time, and the one who's better just smashes the other, you're not the person who's getting tapped all the time isn't getting an awful lot from that, are they? They're just getting good at getting tapped in some ways. Now, it's not quite as clear cut as that, and I know people listening will probably go, no, because I get it, but in concept, you're always getting good at getting smashed and defending against a better guy, versus if you've got the freedom to go against someone who you know you can tap as well, you've got the freedom to go for the tap, haven't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It's a balance between many things. You said something as well, to spawn off, to the death. You were saying it metaphorically. Mm-hmm. But I actually want to talk about that. Because my philosophy of combat is based on the idea that to defend yourself and your people, you must be willing to fight until your body no longer can.
Yep.
I actually have that as my Instagram bio for a reason. That's what my book's going to be about. That's fundamentally what I'm trying to express through my grappling. Going through, again, back to the furious self-expression. That's what I want. I once saw a scramble between Yuri Simoes and Ricardo Mesquita.
Yep.
And it looked like two men trying to kill each other.
Yep.
It was obvious that they would fight to the death at any moment, that they had that locked into them. That is something I feel is completely, to just use the grab and stab as an example. That's a case where somebody grabs you, but you need to be prepared, because you don't know if they have a knife. They could grab you, you might not see it, but they might be coming to, you have to have that ready to go. Mm-hmm. So people often, I came off that, people often like, what are you talking about? That's a bit extreme. But then when I give that example, they go, oh, I get you now.
Yeah.
One thing I've realized, is that a lot of self-defense training neglects this aspect.
Right.
It's all about, like, when I started martial arts, I kept chasing techniques. Like I defined self-defense as situations you can handle. You can defend yourself if you can be, for example, I've never spoke about this stuff before, so I'm very grateful. Thank you, Ollie, for bringing me on this, because I finally have a chance to articulate these things that are really of the most importance to me. These are like my innermost thoughts, and these are very, very important to me. So thank you again. I conceptualize self-defense as being able to handle certain situations. So if you look at a self-defense program, they say you learn these 45 techniques, you'll be able to defend yourself in most cases. It's like, if this happens, you do this. If that happens, you do that. And yes, there are more common situations, but they're missing out something. I'm sure you heard of McDojo Life.
Yeah, of course.
Shout out to McDojo Life. I once saw something on one of his things, but like something he was making fun of. There was a guy like, his hands were tied behind his back. There was a guy holding both arms. There was a third, like a scythe type thing. And he said, just kick him in the balls. And I was like, oh, I don't need to comment on how effective that will be. But it made me think about the mindset behind that. Not to say things like that don't happen, because yes, in this world, crazy shit like that does happen. But it's the thought that you can reduce such a situation like that to a clear-cut technique. It took me 3 years of training. Well, it took about 2 years of training to get the basic ideas, but then 3 years, like recently, something I'm still thinking about, to be able to clearly articulate this. At the basis of all of these techniques has to be that will look. No matter, even if I don't have a technique, I'm just going to get cracking into the end.
Right.
That has to underlie everything.
Goes a long way, yeah. That'll take you far.
That's the bedrock. The techniques are add on top of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Another quote I came up with from observing the behavior of a man of great physical strength but equally great psychological weakness. I'm not going to say anything more about him. If you know, you know. Like, certain people know what I'm talking about. He made me realize that while the will to fight doesn't guarantee victory in any outer battle, it does ensure that you will win an inner one. And learning how to defend yourself is just as much as about knowing that you are prepared for the worst in your heart of hearts than it is having it's equally about that as it is about having the physical capacity to actually do it. It is just as okay, this is the best way to put it. Just as the physical attributes to perform a technique are part of the technique, the psychological attributes are part of it. Knowing how to defend yourself with a blast double isn't just being strong enough to do the blast double, it's being psychologically committed enough to do the blast double. That is part of self-defense.
Right.
And that's why I want my grappling to look a certain way. I want to have a certain aesthetic, because I want people to look at it and go, all right, this guy's getting cracking, like, fuck it. That's the impression I want to have, is I want young boys from the hood, someone who was in my age when I was 17 and had all these things in my head, like, how do I deal with this stuff? I want a 17-year-old, or even younger, to look at my style and go, raw, that's crazy. I want to learn that so I know I can handle situations, but just the willpower he has to be. I want to be like that. But there's the thing. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of people who don't come from a violent background, who haven't got much experience of violence, conflate the desire to be tough and hard with something to prove. And these guys want to prove they're macho. Yeah, there is an element of that, but I think that the core of it is to win the inner battle, to know, okay, no matter how mad things get, I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
And when you have that in you, and you know, even if I die, I'm not just going to give up. It builds an inner strength that carries you through.
Yeah, I agree with that massively. And do you know what? It's funny when you're saying that. I was thinking about something that I heard when I was probably a late teenager as a boxer, and it stuck with me ever since. And I took it to heart big time from Chris Eubank Senior. And he's been sort of popular recently because of his son's fighting and his whatever. But his concept of sort of the Warriors Code, he said something along the line, and I don't know word for word, but it was like when he fought Michael Watson. I don't know if you're aware of this fight. So Michael Watson tragically disabled him, and he was damaged forever from a fight. But Eubank's talking about the fight, how he was getting beaten in that fight bad, and he sort of knew he couldn't win this fight. He took this on, he knew he couldn't win this fight, but he had the whatever you'd call it, inner spirit, I guess you'd say, of like, you have to stay in there and take your beating if you're getting one till the end.
Yes.
And anyway, for anyone who doesn't know, I think it was the 10th round, if I'm wrong it was the 11th, he gets knocked down heavy, and he's sort of gone, and he talks about how he was sort of finished and he was whatever, but he had to get up because he could, not because he wanted to, but because he could.
Physically could. Yeah.
And even, he said it would have been easy for him to roll over because the world wouldn't have known. He said, but he knew. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, yes. he knew, so he'd have to live with that forever. He knew he didn't get up when he could. And anyway, from there he gets up, he throws an uppercut and injures Michael Watson, and Michael Watson's sort of disabled forever on for the rest of his life. But tragically, but the spirit of that stuck with me. Do you see where I'm coming from? There's like, the thing that really hit home was two things. Firstly, taking the beating when you're getting one, because you stay in there. But also, like, when he went down, he got up because he knew he could.
Yes.
And I just feel like that's important because, as he said, the rest of the world wouldn't have known. He could have just laid down as a knockout. It would have, he couldn't get up in time, blah, blah, blah. But with him knowing that, I was probably 18 when I first heard this, and it just, something with that stuck with me forever. Did you see what I'm saying? Like one of the simple things.
That's what I want to do for people. As you said, like I don't like to tap. I'm known for being stubborn to tap.
Yep.
It's not because I can't accept someone's better than me.
Yep.
It's because I don't want to think to myself, did I tap too early?
Yep.
I want to know that I tapped. Again, I'm not going to do something stupid, and I don't encourage people to get injured in training. It's just stupid. But I don't want to know, look at myself like, did I tap to that because it was getting uncomfortable?
I think this is especially true in chokes as well, right?
Yeah.
Because, like you're saying, if someone's got your arm
Yeah.
and it's, I don't want to tap and now I've got a broken elbow, I didn't need that. But, like, if you're in a choke and it's like, and again, I'm not good advocating don't tap. If you need to, you tap, of course you do.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're caught in a choke, you know, we've all been there, you know, where things start to get a little bit hazy.
Yeah.
Could I start? I'm out. Or you could go, no, give it a sec. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. And I say something here, and this is at the risk of sounding a bit voodoo, if you like. Like, again, quote from Chris Eubank. He was someone I really look up to in the fight game, by the way. And I put a post out the other day as like he's the guy I'd like to have as a guest on here. So if anyone can help and find him and reach him, I've got some feelers out there. Let's get Chris Senior on here. You know where to be. But he said he was reading a quote, and it was a long-winded one. I won't get into it. But at a certain point, he says, if you can say to yourself, hold on. And I was in a choke once. Years ago, I was probably a white belt at the time, but I was in a choke, deep. And it was that situation where I was like, and I was about, you know, the old like shaky hand, like I'm about to tap. And so I heard in my head from that quote, hold on. And I was like, just hold on for a second. And I carried on, I pressured through, and I got through it, and I didn't get tapped. And again, as silly as this sounded, it was probably a Wednesday afternoon in a dojo, it didn't mean anything. But it meant a lot to me. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, it stuck with me because in that moment I could have gone, you got me. And no one would have ever remembered that. I wouldn't even remember it now, but that little moment of just sticking a little bit more, I think it goes a long way. And again, this is not being stupid and getting caught in a heel hook, because that's a different thing. You're going to ruin your fucking life. But a choke where there's a moment of, it's only me. I'm not against you when you've got me in this choke. It's me versus my own mind. Do you see where I'm coming from? I think we're talking about the same concept here, but I think it's important because I think it gets lost sometimes now. And especially with this sort of like social media element of things, I think people are too easy to duck out early and like make an excuse. Because I've spoken about this on here before, and without going on a rant like I have before, about excuses. I don't care about your excuse. If me and you get in there and we fight, one of us wins, I don't want to hear you after go, yeah, but I got a sore knee. You stepped in. I don't care. Keep that to yourself. You know what I mean? Wear it with pride that you didn't say anything. And I think that's going away a little bit in the world of martial arts, because I don't want to blame social media, because there's obviously a lot of benefits of it, but where so many people are doing it now, I think it's easier to go, yeah, but I was tired that day. No one cares you was tired that day. You showed up, so give your best and then go out on your shield.
Exactly. Because if you did win, you're like, I won tired.
Yeah.
I won of a sore ankle, whatever. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
That's it.
And going back to a thing about that, one thing about the chokes thing. This is why I advocate. So take boxing, for example, where there's a big risk of brain damage, and we need a reliable way to train these things. I can take in the military. They do a lot of training and examination is based on marching of heavy kit. I remember I read in an SAS book, there's a reason why they do this. It said that through experience in the British Army and in the SAS in particular, it has been found that a man who can keep himself going when his body has had enough is the sort of man who, without the support of his comrades and officer to tell him what to do, will carry on with his mission. That's from SAS Ultimate Guide to Combat. I think his name's Robert Sterling, just to quote the author, give him credit. But that's the name of the book, SAS Ultimate Guide to Combat. And that makes perfect sense. The way I see it, that's a very safe way, because it's fundamentally the same. What makes a person run through a burning building, what makes a person, you know what I mean, walk through the cold, what makes a person stand up when they get knocked, it's all the same. It's that will to overcome the body. We talked about spirit before, it's not voodoo at all. I call it the spirituality of combat. That will have how I describe it. It's the same, but it doesn't just apply to combat. It's just that inner self. When I talk about spirit, I'm not talking about some supernatural thing. I'm talking about just that will, that power within. It's pushing through the body to its limit. It's the same fundamentally. I think that's a very safe. I think the reason why the military, because I know there are American gangs that have you fight 3 men for a whole minute to join. That's going to cause a lot of problems. That's a very, just to be frank, quite a stupid way to test will. I get why they're doing it, because you definitely have to be hard to do that. But it's a very stupid way to test it. I think the reason why the military has a lot more research and a lot more thought gone into it So I think they use that marching, partly because it's a relevant skill, that's not what they do, but also because it's a safer way to test that willpower. Than to say, okay, there's a burning building, run into the burning building, stand there for 5 seconds and run out, where a lot of men, yeah, you'll be brave as hell to do that shit. But a lot of people will be dead.
Yep.
I think they realise we found a safe way to gauge that. And chokes are a safe way to test this. Very, very, like, so what you said, I completely agree. Joint locks, be more careful. Don't tap out the moment they grab your limb, obviously, but...
And it's important to know your training partner too,
Yeah.
right? Because if me and you, for example, we've known each other, let's example, say 5 years. We train together 5 days a week, every day, 4 or 5 years. We know each other. We can afford to go a little bit because I know you're not going to rip my arm off. So if you've got my arm, I can trust you to go, I'm going to fight this a little bit more. First time I've ever trained you, I don't know you. We're both the same grade. We both got that ego going. You get my arm. That's a different story because now I don't want my arm ripped off. Do you see what I mean? And but I think the bigger picture here is what can't be lost. And I'm on a group chat. I won't say the boys, but you know, you are on a group chat, and I'm always giving stick on there. But we talk about sort of like honor, if you like, and code, and like, you know, like a lot of guys. Eddie Hearn, I've kind of spoke about, you know, the boxing promoter. Are you aware of Eddie Hearn?
I'm actually...
But anyway, he's very famous, people will know, but he talks down about fighters and he talks this, and not just to use him, there's a lot of examples. I'm not into that. I don't like that. I just feel like there should be an honour to this. Like, if me and you are going to fight, we decide we're going to fight, we lay it on the line. I don't need to talk about you and talk shit about you and say you're this and you're that and talk about whatever, your appearance, your family. That to me is low. That to me is like, listen, we're going to get in there, we're going to fight anyway. Wear it correct and let's do it, you know, I believe in that. Yes.
Is that going to be recording our conversation as well?
No, we're on a camp.
Okay with that?
No, we're on here.
Yeah, you're on it, but can you hear our voices?
No, you can't. It's on here. You can listen to it in a minute, mate. There's no problem.
Oh, it's on, but I'm just saying, because like, I don't consent to have my voice being recorded, because you're obviously recording something.
Your voice won't be. We're on this. I've just told you it won't.
Cool, cheers, man.
Anyway, so I don't think that can go away. I think because the moment you start losing that, then it becomes, things aren't as important. Does that make sense? And it all becomes wishy-washy, and before you know it, it doesn't count for anything. I guess I'm kind of talking myself around in the circle, but I think you understand where I'm coming
I know
from.
what you're saying. We're forgetting, like, it becomes like this gimmick almost. Like, that's how I'll verbalize it.
You said it better. Yeah, exactly.
It's like this weird kind of like, oh, it's less about fighting and more about just talking and drama, and like a soap opera, like, man.
And you lose the sort of dignity of fighting as well. I think, like, it should be respected. You're not talking about yourself. I'm talking about the art of fighting should always be respected because it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, and it's a very valuable thing. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh man, fighting's not that important. Like, oh, I'm like, I was even speaking to, I was speaking to my brother. He was like my brother, like, he likes boxing and whatnot. Like, he's a tough guy. He's not a nerd by any means. Mm-hmm. But he was telling me, like, no, Jack, don't you think you're a bit too, because they call me Jack. He said, don't you think you're a bit too, obsessed with this fighting thing? Like, you know what I mean? It's not that deep. I'm like, first off, it's beyond just the fighting. Going back to that quote, it's about that I was hitting deep myself. This martial arts is benefiting more than just being able to defend myself. But we can't take away the importance of knowing how to defend yourself. That cannot be, even just winning the inner battles, just knowing I have it in me. If I'm being honest, knowing that I'm not going to give up. Because Max said something last year that stayed with me. And British Open, the 30th of November last year. I fought against the guy. We drove all the way to Coventry, me and Max's sister. And I was like to myself, I didn't come all the way here to lose. I'm at least going to get a win. So I fought and fought and fought and fought and fought and fought and fought. And then by the end of it, Max was like, you know Sam Gibbs? He was watching too. He was like, that aggression is a thing of beauty. And Max said to me, I can confidently say you have more mental fortitude than the vast majority of people in Jiu Jitsu. That was my videos. You can watch the video. I've got on my Instagram if you want to watch it. He said that is a capacity that you have. Most would have been like, and just try to close off and stop defending. But you kept going and kept going and kept going. So I wanted to start weaponizing that. And I've been working on that. That, knowing that I had that in me, to go harder than most among people who go harder than most. That's very liberating for me, for the things I've been in my life. Just even knowing that is have that power and unlocking and exercising it. It's like you can have natural strength, but you need to exercise it to really unlock it.
That's interesting, yeah. And I think you can weaponize a lot of things. Like you say, that's one thing you can weaponize. Like it's obvious that you weaponize skill because that's the whole art in itself, right?
Yeah.
But you can weaponize a lot of things. You can weaponize pace, right? If me and you are of a similar ability, one of us is just at a certain level, but I just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. That's a headache, isn't it? You know what I mean? So if you can put all them aspects together, it can elevate your game massively by just tweaking a few things without really even elevating your game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can elevate your game without elevating your game. You know, I know it sounds a bit goofy, but you get where I'm coming from.
I agree with it. You haven't added anything technical.
Effort is a skill, isn't it? In a way. And I know it's not a skill, but you get, again, the concept of it is like strength's a skill. It's not a skill, but it's a skill. You know, a lot of people say like, when I started jiu-jitsu, certain coaches, not my coaches, but certain people I'd be around, they'd say like, don't use your strength, 'cause I was quite a strong guy immediately. To me, is ludicrous looking back, because it's like, of course you use your strength. It's like saying a fast guy, don't use your speed. What do you do?
When you think about it, when I heard that, there's a video I need to shout out Ramsey Dewey, because I'm not going to take ideas like I came up with them. You know Ramsey Dewey, the YouTuber.
Yep.
He said, he made an argument against that. He said, why? Because he said, don't ever say that, don't use strength. Because all body movement is an application of strength. Even to just lift this up, to blink takes some level of strength. You can't, don't use strength means nothing. Like it doesn't mean anything. Be efficient, okay, that's meaningful. Use your strength don't waste effort. That's something meaningful.
But I think as well, it comes into, with at the risk of sounding a bit hippified here, it's like, use your strength, but don't let your strength use you, sort of thing. Like, don't become the guy that all you've got strength. All I do is crush. But if you're strong, why would you not use it? If you're tall, use it. If you're whatever, I believe in that. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about using what you are, right? You've got to be yourself. It's like, again, we said before, we're similar in weight. You're a lot taller than me. It's like saying you don't use your length. Why would you not? Well, you're going to pretend you're short like me. It doesn't make sense, does it?
You can't. Like, it's invariably like, whether or not I want to or not, the fact that I'm 6'2" is going to play a role. People are going to be shooting on my legs.
Well, again, we know there's people that are your weight, my weight, that are 5'4", like built like a tank. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you going to do? Do it the same as them? You can't. It doesn't make sense.
Personality-wise as well, some people just like I'm being honest, like what you said, the playing all the guards bores you. I said playing the leg locks bore me. I can't do it. Like, I'm like, I can't become a leg lock master.
Do you believe in that? See, that's an interesting point.
Or mastery.
You don't think you could be if you're dedicated to it.
Okay, I could be. Okay, let me say that again, because I don't like to be imprecise in my words. Obviously, I could, if I really, I don't know.
If you decided.
Yeah, like you'll make 100 million doing it or something. You know what I mean?
You'd figure out real quick.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I could, but the level of willpower I would have to summon would be crazy. Like, it's not something
But that's why I asked you, because it comes back to an interest thing, right? If you're not interested, it's very difficult to get good at something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas if, for example, my favourite submission is arm triangle. Like, I can not drill it necessarily all day, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I can, wherever I'm at, I'm looking for it, I'm hunting for it, I tease this, I tease that. If I don't get it, I'll get something else. But it's because I put so much emphasis and pressure towards that, it opened the door not easier for something else. Do you see what I'm saying? But it's because I've got such an interest in it. I love to go for that move. So if you had to change that move out and like suddenly now all you're going to do today is arm bars, Ollie, it's like, it's not that I can't do an arm bar, of course I can, but at the same time it's like I'm not hunting them. I get a lot more arm bars going for arm triangles, as silly as that sounds to anyone who knows what I'm talking about. But because I'm going for the arm triangle so heavy, a lot of people will defend in a way where the arm becomes more vulnerable, and I'll take the arm bar.
So that's what you meant, because you said something when you was talking to Cutie Pie. Again, apologies, Cutie Pie. I've actually met you before, but I don't
Shout out Cutie Pie, we did a great episode. We're going to do another one day.
But you was talking about to her when you said, that opens up things.
Yep.
Is that so? That's what you meant?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly what I meant. I think if you go for something so obviously, and I'm not desperate, but I'm committed to getting that arm triangle. I'm committed. I'm coming for it. Maybe it's more sort of obvious when I said about the leg attacks. If I'm from the feet, I mean takedowns. If I'm shooting, and I've made my mind up, I'm going for that leg, 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 you're going to have to defend it at a certain point, which might take me to the back, and I'll get a takedown that way. I wasn't looking to get to your back and take you down that way, but it presented itself, so I'd take it.
Yeah, your A game builds out your system. Like,
Yep.
ultimately speaking, you can't say I'm only ever going to do these moves because people got counters and whatnot.
Yes.
But what you prefer, your body type, etc. I think John Dan says there's three things: your personality, your body type, and your teaching tradition. What you've been taught. Obviously, that plays a role.
Yep.
Those are like your trunk.
Yeah.
And everything else is branched off. Again, I don't like leg locks, but I would, if a leg lock's there, I'm going to take it.
Yep.
I don't like it. I'm not going to be over the moon about it, like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool, I got a leg lock.
Yeah.
But there was actually a thing. I taught a lot of military people. I wanted to join the military when I was younger. At the risk of sounding crazy, but I'm gonna say it because this is the point of it. The reason why I didn't join the army is because there wasn't any wars going on. To put it simple.
All right, you're legit crazy, man. I got you.
To put it simple, because I told that to someone and they said, "Damn, that sounds crazy." I was just being honest, but now every time I say that, I give the warning beforehand.
Yeah.
No. Crazy. But yes, to be honest, that is why I didn't join the army. Because I wanted to go to war when I was 18. That's actually what got me into the calisthenics and whatnot.
Really?
Yeah.
What was behind that? What made you think like that? Is this upbringing or is it just like?
Well, when we go to war.
Yeah.
Very good question. I've actually never been able to articulate. This is something I've been trying to figure out for years. Why was I so fascinated with the war, with the army and the military and wanting to go to war? I think now that I've joined martial arts and I've explored what's hidden deep within myself, going back to that quote, I think I was trying to win the inner battle. I thought by going to war, by facing the horrors of war, I would have brought that will to fight. I couldn't articulate. I was 18. I'm 28 now.
Yeah.
A lot wiser, a lot more experience. I've actually got a degree of combat expertise, whatever, from martial arts. What I wanted from the military, I got from martial arts, I believe. Okay. To bring out that inner strength.
Of course, mate. Yeah, take it, please. Thank you.
That's what made me want to join. If I'm being honest, and it's just amazing. I'm being honest. Martial arts is, I fully understand why people commit their lives to martial arts. I fully understand what they say. It's not just a set of skills; it's a way of life. That, for me, that makes perfect sense. All of it makes sense. None of that sounds like waffle or cap to me.
Japanese concept of Kaizen, I think you pronounce it, right? Where it's constantly getting better at everything. Now, I believe in that too. And like, we spoke, I think it was off camera, we spoke about some of the stuff I do in terms of training and like handstands and gymnastic style stuff. It's all for bettering like the martial arts, you know what I'm saying? It's more like, because for me, bench pressing and stuff, and I know people have their opinions, doesn't translate to martial arts, you know what I mean? It doesn't, I mean, it might for some people in certain elements, but for me, like with striking especially, it doesn't feel great on my body. I feel much stronger, much more able when I'm doing natural movements. Do you know what I mean? And shout out Ido Portal method, which is where I learned a lot of this stuff.
I've heard of him. There was another guy I trained with who mentioned him because he did a backflip.
Yep.
Where did you learn that from? He told me about Ido Portal.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is funny because I want a deeper knowledge of strength and conditioning and whatnot. I don't have that knowledge. And my knowledge of that is very elementary. I know something. I used to lift weights. I did a good calisthenics. Yeah, I don't know nothing, but it's not as deep as I want to because I really want to optimize my training. And obviously, athleticism is part of martial arts. It's not an asset. It's part of martial arts.
Yeah, of course. Martial arts, you need to be able to use this effectively, right? Like, if I bust up your knee, it's going to affect your martial arts, obviously, right? Yeah. So I believe in that. Like when you're saying that, this is my everything in terms of martial arts, right? Meaning my body. For those just listening, I'm pointing. This
is my weapon.
This is my weapon. This is my tool. This is my everything, right? So I believe in the whole aspect. Like when I'm doing handstands, for example, I'm not necessarily doing it for the sake of handstands. I'm doing it to benefit my martial arts. Now I know it's in a roundabout way, and it's not working on my martial arts in the same way if I come with you and we drill double leg takedowns into an arm triangle, obviously. But in a roundabout way, it does. And for mentally, we touched on it earlier with fun. I think the fun element of it helps. Do you know what I mean? If I'm sitting bored doing something, if it's helping me physically, it's not helping me as much as it could if I'm enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? Like some people, Donald Cerrone, back in the day, cowboy, fought in the UFC. He had videos of himself. He was like, some of his cardio work used to be like playing frisbee with the boys. You know what I mean? Like they're playing like competitive frisbee. because he liked it better than running. I might be butchering that, but you get the concept.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way too. If you're happy, old saying, isn't it? If a happy fighter's a dangerous fighter.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Like,
So, like, sorry, just to cut you off again, mate. I keep cutting you off, but
No,
like,
it's fine,
in
it's fine.
terms of like training, obviously you do jiu-jitsu. You said 6 days a week, I think, right?
Monday
Like-
to Saturday.
Exactly. So, do you do any other training around that? Do you still do your calisthenics and stuff?
Occasionally, like, I'm sure you know Tiernan.
No. Who's this?
Tiernan, well, you'll be aware of him if you met him.
Okay.
Extreme, one of the most athletic men I've ever met, but like just an incredible physical specimen.
Is he a jiu-jitsu guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He trains at Grapple Collective.
Okay, I might know him by face.
Highly technical. He's a purple belt on the max. He got all his belts on the max. He said that he only lifts when he feels he needs it.
That's interesting. I like that.
He said he doesn't like lifting. No, I don't know if he said he doesn't like lifting, but he said he doesn't lift off. He only does it when he needs it.
Yeah, because I've fell into that trap as well, and I think a lot of people have, of being on like a program. Like, oh, it's Monday, it's 9 a.m, so I'm supposed to lift now. Sometimes it's not the right thing to do, and I've come again in the last maybe year more so. Is come into that like, today's the day. I've trained this morning. I feel good now. Now I'm going to go and hit a heavy ring workout. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like now's the time to train, and then tomorrow, how I feel, I'll let my training, let myself dictate what training I do based on that. And I think that's important too. And you've been in jiu-jitsu now for 3 years, you said. So you're at a point now where you know yourself and you know your style, right? It's not like you're a day one beginner where you come in and it's like, right, just learn everything under the sun.
Yeah,
now
definitely.
you're starting to specialize, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Like, you got to go through that process again. You learn the language before you can write poetry. You've got to get a feel for things. You can't be like, on your day one, be like, imagine me having never done anything before, be like, I prefer wrestling to leg locks, but I've done neither.
Yep.
Like all the time when people say, oh, you don't like, I deleted it because a reel, like it was a joke that I said, before people say the reason I don't like leg locks because I don't like them. And my friend who's got injured, I said, sorry bro, we moved you back for leg lock for sub reps. Oof. It's me from ankle locking him. But he said, oh, I don't want my name tagged in it. So I said, no, I'll just take it down.
Take it, yeah, right, yeah.
But like, I can leg lock people. I've gotten more leg locks than I can count. I know how to do them. That's how I know I don't like them. It's not like I didn't come in with this prejudice saying, I don't like this. I tried that out, and after doing it enough time, I realised
It's not like a political thing for you. It's just for you familiarised. It's like you don't.
Yeah.
Well, not political is maybe the wrong word, but like some people don't like a certain move on principle. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it's not a principle thing.
No, I don't. They're effective. People want to build their game around them, go ahead. But for me, they're just boring.
Yep. So don't do them
Boring,
then.
I can't-
Learn to shut them down and don't do them.
Exactly, man. I just can't. On very, very, very few exceptions, I would use a leg lock. If it's there, bam, I'm escaping mount, like maybe a kip and escape,
Yeah.
bam, it's whatever. But no, I'm not going to be building a game around them. I just couldn't. Okay, I don't want to say I can't. I'm one of those people. I'm a realist. I don't like to say things are possible when they're not possible.
Yep.
But at the same time, I don't want to say things are impossible when they are possible.
Yeah, I got you. That's interesting. And body type's playing to that, which we could go around in circles again.
Yeah.
But like, question I got for you is, and I use the word grappling, not jiu-jitsu, because of the things we spoke about. Like, what are your goals in grappling as a whole? What do you want to be like if we sat here, well, hopefully we do this multiple times, but if we sat here again in, let's go extreme, we say 20 years time, what do you want to sit down and go, right, boom, I did this, I'm doing this, and this is where I'm at?
Very good. First thing is the one I mentioned before about carrying people out from bad positions. I want to get to a level where I can do that against professional grapplers. To really prove that this is a viable strategy. That wasn't a one-off. That wasn't a fluke. Matt said he's never seen that before. I want to prove that that's a weapon that just hasn't been utilized. I'm not saying I'm the first person ever to have done that. Like how John Danner and his death squad weren't the first people to ever do leg locks.
No.
But they definitely like ramped it up.
They brought it to the public and made it a new level, right? And they had a whole system behind it, for probably the first time.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring the first system for that, tiring people out from bad positions and really like, hey, you want to put me in a bad position? I'm not going to intentionally put myself there, but mate, just know like, if you're I recently wrote a quote. Like, I'm the type of guy that I'm always monitoring, like, how people respond to my media because, I need to keep track of what's interesting people, what's not.
Right.
Usually I get a few profile, maybe one or two profile videos every now and then.
Yeah.
I noticed after I wrote this quote, I got 6 profile visits. That's the most I've ever seen. I recently wrote this quote. I'll say it one more time for those who read it. If you are the same size and skill level as me, then I will not accept anything less than you suffering for every bit of control you have. You've got me mounted, I'm gonna make sure that mount is hellish for you to hold on to. You've got me on my back, I'm gonna make sure it's hellish. You've got me in a triangle, anything, I don't care what, there's no position. That really expanded my consciousness. There's no position, because he had me all these crazy positions. He had my back, he had me in the RNC, he had me in a triangle, he had me mounted, he had me in a mounted triangle. You must be thinking, fucking hell, why is this guy not tapping? You must have, like, the way he was like afterwards, like, he must have been, again, no disrespect to you, Emmanuel Thomas, but you taught me a lot. So credit to you. But you must be thinking, fuck, this guy, like, why isn't he giving up? That is something to be weaponized. So yeah, that's the first thing. The main thing is I want to really weaponize that.
Yeah.
The second, this is more in terms of how it responds. I want countless people to have looked at my style and said, you know what, he's right, I want to learn how to do it. Like how Jocko Willink really convinced me that. Like literally, the way I describe it is like, it felt like he converted me to a religion.
Right,
That's
okay.
how profound
That's
it was.
interesting.
That's
It
how
was that big.
Yeah. I was like, when it hit, I was like, of course you can't run, because all this time I want to start martial arts. When I say I've done striking, I mean I've done a handful of lessons. I'm going to get into striking, to some Muay Thai. There's someone at our GM Collective that's a Muay Thai coach. I'm going to go down with him, have some lessons with him. I'm going to develop some basic competence, maybe take it further, we'll see, but I'm going to become relatively competent in striking eventually. But when I heard that, but there was something about striking that didn't fully convince me to, like, you know, I need to only do this. It was that argument he made about the not being able to run away, that, wow, I need to lock. And literally, I haven't looked back since. I didn't thought, you know, I'll try that. I heard that, boom, what Jiu Jitsu do? That, when can I go down? Boom, went straight down, and I've been consistent since. Like my first year I was training, I've been training 3 years. The first year, I used to train twice a week, but that was because this gym wasn't training full time. It was literally the first gym I found. I just went straight down to it. I have this thing, yeah, where I just go for things without really, you know, looking around. I wasn't the type that found gyms closer to me. The first one I saw on the internet I went to. But yeah. Then I went to a second, you know, with Jeju.
Yep, of course, yep.
I trained for a year with Jeju. They was open every day, so I was doing 5 days then. And then I eventually Grapple Collective 5, and then I upped it to 6.
Nice.
So I would have done 5 at my first gym, but it just wasn't
Was an
open.
option, yeah.
Yeah. So I've stuck to it. And it's really, really changed me. And I want to do that, because you've gone back to the question, don't want to unanswer the question. You said in 20 years, what do you want to be? I said the first one is I've developed a system for that capacity to burn any fucking position you're going to suffer for it. I want to systemize that. Second thing is I want to know that countless people have been inspired to defend myself. I want to embody that. And Greazy Grappler isn't here just to flex. He's here to inspire people. That's the second thing. The third thing, I guess this is kind of an extension of that. I've been taught many people. Like coaching, I guess it's kind of an extension of, obviously this is more direct.
Yeah, well, I tell you what I would like to do with you, definitely, like I've said this a lot to a few people on here recently, is like, I've been doing this for longer, I want to get sort of a community around, like have people that sort of, like yourself, definitely, you're 100% one of them, like we sat here today, spoke about philosophies, which is, I believe, is a big thing we've got to keep alive, and to be around that and listen to it. So hopefully, if you're willing, we'll get you on again at some point, mate. We've definitely got to get some training in and put some concepts on each other, see if we can figure a few things out together, and we'll come back and do it again, mate. But as I say, I appreciate you doing this, man. This has been brilliant. Before we finish, I always ask the most important question of the day. I know you've seen these. You're from the other side of the river, so this question might not go down well. Which football team do you support?
Do you want to be honest? None of them.
Chelsea, very good, my guy. Well done. Top man. As I say, we'll definitely do this again, mate. I always finish with a fist up like this. Squeeze the neck. Boom.
Boom.